All right, so we are gonna play ourselves a new game. I know a lot of you like movie quotes, or maybe even pitch that movie, but we're gonna do something a little bit different. Don't worry, movie quotes will be back. In fact, I got a whole episode dedicated to movie quotes coming out just for people who love movie quotes. That'll be coming out soon. But for now, we're gonna play a new game called Fix That Movie. Now, this week's theme of Fix That Movie is the number 3, so bad threes. Alright? So I'm going to give these 3 guys the option between probably about 7 movies to choose. One will choose first. They'll say, okay, that's got to be the worst one. That one has to be fixed. They're going to tell me the one thing they need to do to fix that movie to make it good. And then the next guy will try and top it, and the next one will follow to say, and what fixes it, And I will determine which one wins at the end. So we're going to get a chance to fix about 3 or 4 of these movies. They probably all need fixing, but away we go. First of all, let's roll that die 20 of destiny if we got one. 3 for Zub. 17 for Myles.
Big numbers.
15 for Da Boo. Alright, so Myles, you will go first. Here are your terrible 3s. Iron Man 3. Spider-Man 3. Star Wars Episode 3. Terminator 3. Alien 3. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. And Jurassic Park 3.
Oof. Wow.
That's
a whole lot of mess.
Now, we all get to complain about movies a lot. Now's your chance to fix this movie. Myles, go.
I'm going to pick, this is very ambitious, and I don't know if I can do it in one movie, Star Wars Episode 3.
Okay, and what's the one thing you would fix that would ultimately fix Star Wars Episode 3?
Star Wars Episode 3 should have been kind of like what they did with Harry Potter, where you have too much story and then you expand it to 2 movies. Or The Hobbit, how they did it in 3. Or, what's that? Jennifer Lawrence crap that's out right now.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. Ugh. How they expanded that 3rd movie into 2 movies as well. I think that's basically what I'm getting at. Episode 3 should have been 2 movies because there's too much story that they had to tell. They were so slow with the first 2 movies.
So what would you change about it then?
Where to start?
What are you changing about that one movie that's going to make it ultimately better?
It needs to be 2 movies.
It needs
ultimately there's too much story.
So part 3 needs to be 2 movies.
Yeah, they were
all right,
way too ambitious.
Out of the same list?
No, you're going to tell me Episode 3, Star Wars.
Oh, sorry, specific. I thought we had to pick a different movie to do it. But
Yeah,
okay, so another reason why Star
You're
Wars...
going to get a chance to pick the other ones later.
All right, I get that.
All right.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
What do we need to change? Let's see here. Well, you know what? We got to start making it, less about whiny Annie, I think is what I'm thinking.
So, whiny Annie.
No, yeah. You know what? It's kind of hard for me to digest Darth Vader, one of the most feared, warriors in all of galactic history in terms of science fiction. And then have him, 2 steps back, just prior to that, we got this whining son of a bitch who thinks he needs to always be right. I think is pretty much the way I got it. He was always thinking that it had to be his way or not at all,
Yeah.
and every time he didn't get his way, we saw him either pout or dream really bad things. Usually that's a bad sign. Anyway, I just felt like if we were to take out that entire whiny Annie, I think the tone of the movie might have gone in a completely different direction, because clearly we saw someone who was good become evil, but at the same time we got annoyed by him in the meantime, so we didn't really care that he became evil, so it kind of took away from the effect. Okay.
All right, so take away whiny Annie. Zub, how would you fix Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith?
Okay, I really like Myles' idea, and to expand on Boo's point with specifically Darth Vader, whiny Annie needs to go, but when you have Darth Vader basically act like Frankenstein, now is it, essentially? We need to see
More Darth Vader
tear up like the Jedi. Whatever remaining Jedi, he takes care of himself, or he does something really, really outrageous to justify the turn like this we've been waiting for the last 2 movies, and him being a badass before going into New Hope.
Okay, so more Darth Vader. Okay, Myles, tell me why your idea is better than their ideas.
Well, the reason why it's better is there's so much story that needs to be told because of the backlog of slowness that happened for the first 2 movies. They were so slow in developing everybody and talking about everything that they just threw it all in one movie. So you have the Wookiees all of a sudden, and that didn't need to be there. They had battles at the beginning that didn't need to happen. It was just, and them turning. It's so. Where do you start? This is such a loaded question. This movie. But anyways, I think if you had more character development and less. Wow.
So
This
Boo,
so
why
hard.
is yours better than his?
Thanks, Jpar. Thank you.
So Boo, why is less whiny
It's better
Annie?
come back around.
Why is less whiny Annie better?
Okay, well, for one, if I had to compare with the other 2 ideas, okay, so you're thinking of splitting it into 2 movies. Okay, so I get that there's a lot of content. I don't have the advantage of having heard of all that content. My thought on that is that I feel like that might have been too much development. I would love to see it, but I don't think it was necessary for this particular part of the story where it was the telling of the coming of Darth Vader. So I kind of see what Zub is mentioning. However, having said that we knew we were going to get a Darth, I don't know if we wanted it all to be nothing but Darth. I get that we already had... I call him Whiny Annie. I mean, Whiny Annie technically would have been the one in the first one in the first place. But because he became this teenage boy who never seemed to lose his young boy antics and way of looking at life, I guess, he was just too innocent. So, I have to admit, I don't want to see too much Darth. I kind of felt like I wanted to see the development of Darth. But the Darth Vader that I hear, or I think in my mind, is not this whining teenage boy who learnt it the hard way that got himself so badly scarred for life, physically, to become Darth Vader he was forced into it, you know? He was given the suit because he had no other choice, otherwise he had become an amputee. What kind of a fucking Darth Vader would we get out of that? So yeah, I don't think we need more Darth. I think we needed a properly developed Darth. And I don't think we needed it in 2 movies.
Okay, so why more Darth Vader is better than whiny Annie or 2 more, like another part of Star Wars?
Okay, so I'm going to play diplomat here. So I see his point about the development of Darth Vader, but that also plays into Myles telling 2 stories, into that split into part 2 movies. Now, the downside of 2 movies, the only one that really didn't work for those ones that you mentioned before, is the Twilight series. That was split up in 2 movies in the last part, but I digress. Aside from that, nothing's perfect, but Myles and yours would actually tie in. But Darth, when you think Star Wars in your head, what do you think? Darth Vader, right? As the iconic character. But if you look back in New Hope, he did the Force choke twice. He blocked 1 laser in the New Hope, and he didn't really do that much. Okay, and he was also a badass in the TIE Fighter as well.
Yeah,
right?
he was.
Right, but now in this day and age, you want to see some real hardcore violence to make sure he's the baddest villain, period, in cinematic history. So, him just being Frankenstein, terrible. Also, yeah. So breaking things.
I love I was thinking of that scene just as you guys called him Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's so brutal. So basically, yeah, you want to see the can I say it? The money shot. You want to see the money shot.
I thought you were going to say the Muppets.
An other M word.
Yeah, exactly. The other M word. So yeah, basically the money shot is Darth Vader kicking ass, and that's basically what I should
So Myles, you wanted to come back around, so tell me why yours is better then.
Okay, so my idea. Short. I'll make it short and sweet. 2 movies, you have too much content because the first 2 movies were too slow. So because they were lacking story and they took away story, you can fill that gap with 2 movies in the end. We can take both your ideas and have it in this movie, in these 2 movies. Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader at the end of the first movie, and now we get to see Darth Vader
with his use of powers.
With his use of powers.
Okay.
Yeah.
As he's young and Darth Vader. That's something that we never, ever saw We never seen young Darth Vader. We always seen young Annie turn into Darth Vader. We always seen old Darth Vader.
Right.
But we never seen young Darth Vader, and that's what I wanted to see, and it disappeared.
Right.
Because there was no second movie.
So the Emperor would have been nice to show him in the second movie to
Massage,
teach him.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
teach him
grooming
more,
him more as Darth Vader, not as
Don't
Annie.
straighten his idea. What's wrong with you? You're playing this
Thank
wrong.
you. Oh, thank you.
All right. I'm gonna make a choice. I've kind of come down to the. You made a good point about the less whiny Annie. And you said we needed to see Anakin developed. He was never properly developed. You're so right about that. Zub made a point. He said, "What do you think about when you think of Star Wars? Think of Darth Vader. You got one scene at the end." I'm really arguing between these two. Myles, you're out of it, so help me out.
Oh.
I'm not helping you out here saying that.
Yeah, Myles,
What?
Your idea
No,
sucks.
Sorry.
you're on your own, Jpar. Figure it out. Wow.
Alright,
That's an interest. You know what though? It's interesting in that it's the same debate but seen from two different angles. Like
and it's very close. I really feel like we should have saw that development, but since they didn't develop Anakin properly, I'm gonna give it to Zub because he said that. What do you think of when you think of Star Wars? Think Darth Vader. You never got to see like Darth Vader throw down and kick ass. Yeah, you could say you could do it in 2 movies, but people don't want an episode 4 out of episode 3. There's already an episode 4.
It wouldn't be an episode 4. It'd be an episode
Well,
3.2.
3.5? That's terrible.
Yeah,
I don't
like volume 2, right? They'd probably
Oh yeah, it
doing
could be
that,
volume
right?
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna give a point to Zub on that one. I didn't know.
I kind of feel like I gave you an idea with my idea. Damn it!
Okay, so Boo left out of the terrible 3s. We have Iron Man 3, Spider-Man 3, Terminator 3.
I already know.
Alien 3.
I already know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna skip right to it. TMNT 3.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
No, now I feel a little too ambitious. So no.
So-
where would I start with this? Now,
Okay,
How would you fix this movie? That's the one where they went back to time, the feudal Japan.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
samurai time.
Now, I'm going to say this out loud. I've only seen it in bits and pieces, and I guess maybe that's for good reasons.
Yeah.
I was always told to avoid it. Now, having said that, the one thing that I just knew right from the get-go, fucking musical aspect has to be taken out. What the fuck is up with that? TMNT, the Ninja Turtles are fucking ninjas. They don't sing for crying out loud.
What part is that?
I
Where do
just...
they sing?
What was that?
I
Go Ninja,
just
Go Ninja,
oh,
Go?
and can we talk about Mr.
That's-
Ice, Mr. Vanilla?
That's Ninja Turtles 2! That's Ninja Turtles
Come on,
2!
is it
Secret of the Ooze.
seriously?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, I just ruined it for myself. Then.
You did!
Well then.
That's the one where they go back in time, the feudal Japan.
So 3 is when they go back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they skip the singing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
There's no
didn't.
singing.
There was no
No
singing
No.
that I
There's
recall.
no-
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I guess I've hung myself in this particular episode.
Well,
having
the-
said, hey. I got to say something here at least in my defense.
Alright.
Since I haven't seen that movie at all, I mean literally, so I have no way of commenting here.
That doesn't help your argument!
Clearly, I was thinking of this, but I think one thing could be said if I remember seeing the visuals of them correctly. They actually do not look anything like the turtles from the original.
Yes.
Okay, so let me say this then. I don't like the way they were rendered.
Okay.
They were very much characters that were no longer the Ninja
They
Turtles.
didn't look
were,
Jim Henson
they
like
looked
anymore.
very
They looked
Nickelodeon.
very low budget
Yeah.
compared to what the Jim Henson ones
hence,
looked like. Yeah.
I guess for me, just because I'm
Okay,
sorry,
so
I
the
hung
fact that there
myself
was
here.
not the same Jim Henson Creature Shop turtles and they looked more low budget is
They
what.
look horrible.
Okay,
yeah.
that's the one thing you
Okay.
would change. All right, that's a good one. All right, Zub.
For TMT3?
Yes.
Okay, I was the unfortunate one that one of the few in the theater that actually saw it. Because I was a big turtle
Same
fan.
here.
Yeah.
Even though everyone told me to avoid it, I was just like, no, it's Ninja Turtles, man. I'm gonna go.
Where was Rotten Tomatoes? Damn you! So, basically, can I just say that, okay, first of all, it should have been straight to the Laserdisc, DVD, VHS, beta.
So is that how you'd fix it? You just put it right to,
Well-
to the DVD,
No one sees it.
right
Josh,
to
that's
VHS.
I'll hop on the DeLorean, go back in time when they're brainstorming this idea, and just, throw it in the garbage. Just torch it.
So you would fix this movie by just throwing it in the garbage, then?
Put it in the
Basically.
ET,
Oh.
the Atari ET landfill. How's that? We'll put it there.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's your...
Is that your answer?
Put it in the landfill?
It was so bad. The writing was so bad. So basically, if they had a better plot, then I would probably be okay with it. But
so you going with just throw it out or the plot?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, right. Basically, I'm sure that ties in, right? Because it's such a shitty plot. Now when kids want to see it, they're turned like... And kids watch anything on TV now. That tells you something. It's terrible. That's basically my...
So you would fix it by...
Changing the plot.
Throwing it out in the garbage. Throwing it in the garbage.
Yeah, I'll be doing some other stuff to it too. But
Like defecate on that garbage while it's on fire?
Alright, Myles, how would you fix Ninja Turtles 3?
I think the problem with Ninja Turtles 3 is it didn't follow Ninja Turtles 2 very well. So Ninja Turtles 1
Didn't say, damn it!
was super dark. Ninja Turtles 2 was more uplifting and more kid-friendly. There was more like happy tones. I know there was singing and dancing,
Vanilla Ice.
but I actually like that.
Oh,
but,
shut up!
But I was a kid.
Shut up!
I was a kid when I watched it, right?
Fuck your lie.
I know we're adults now.
yeah.
Ninja Turtles 3, I found tried to take a little bit of the first one and a little bit of the second one. It was darker. There was no singing. There was no happiness. There was doom and gloom. You also got to see some interaction. April O'Neil was there, and she didn't really need to be.
No.
They had Yoshi.
Neither did Casey Jones for any reason.
I don't think Casey Jones was in this.
Yes,
Yoshi,
he was. Why'd you say Yoshi?
Yoshi was a girl, a little Japanese girl that befriends
Oh.
one of the turtles. I don't remember exactly what.
You
it was.
remember this
Yeah,
better
but
than
you
me.
remember,
Yeah.
I barely remember it.
Maybe it was Donatello.
It was
I can't remember.
Raphael,
Was it
actually.
Raphael? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense because you get the brooding.
Yeah,
dude With the little
I remember
puppy
that
dog.
part because it was very heavy on the Raphael part.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, what I'm getting at is I found that it was too. They tried to make it too serious again.
Too serious again?
So if they were popular with the second one, the first one wasn't as popular as the second one. Second one exploded. It was the Terminator 2 of trilogies, if you will. And then this one, I found they didn't.
I'm so glad you didn't say Citizen Kane.
No, it's not the Citizen Kane of sequels. But if I were to change anything, I don't know if they changed directors. I'd have to fact check myself. But it seemed like they took a different direction. They tried to take a little bit of the first one, a little bit of the second one, and make its own thing. But if they would have had more just the Secret of the Ooze, like happy-go-lucky, like really funny fighting, it would have been better for me, anyways, as a viewer.
So you preferred the up...
Do you think that they tried to go dark again and it didn't work?
They tried to go dark again, and it just
So that's
didn't
what you would
work.
change?
Yeah, I would make
Okay,
it more happy tones.
are you against this Boo?
I you know what?
Why are the suits better than what he said?
Well, okay, I'm going to say this. If because I can't have seen the movie, I feel like this is one thing. If it hasn't gone darker as the way you would think it would have meant, like the type of darkness I think we'd expect it right from the first one. The first one to me was that level of dark that was just right. Number 2 came around, which is clearly the one I was thinking of. Did not have the level of tone that I felt like I wanted from my TMNT characters, at least that I remember. Probably why I blocked that from my mind. But I don't know if it definitely needs to be more upbeat. I don't think it necessarily needs that tone. The characters certainly definitely need to look completely different than I would remember. But sorry, what was your concern? Was
Basically,
He just wanted to throw it out.
He didn't want anybody to see it at
I'm
all.
gonna say this.
It was such a bad plot. That's basically what
right.
it is.
Okay,
It should
so
have been made.
any story could be well rewritten. I get that. So I guess maybe plot could be changed altogether. But again, I haven't seen the movie, so I
Stop saying that.
it's gonna have that at a disadvantage, man. I mean, I just feel that if I were to look at from my point of view, these characters certainly just don't look the kind of Ninja Turtles that I had seen. And if we're gonna go as far as to say it needed more of a sunshine and rainbows kind of, uplifting kind of tone, I don't think that necessarily was it either. It certainly doesn't need to be thrown out. It certainly deserved like another continuation of the series, but done right. And I still think that if we re-rendered them the way they had been shot in the first movie, then we'd be back to where we were, where I feel comfortable, where the Ninja Turtles should have been.
Do you guys have anything to counter against that?
Well, I'm gonna kind of mindfuck you here, Jay. I agree with both of them. See, both our ideas should be one, re-render, plus have the funny, go back to the original. So everything back from the original into the third one, and that's the starting point. Then a decent plot. Like, because I think they had the time travel thing in the cartoons at the time as well. So they could have done the time travel.
And the video games.
The video game was a big one.
Too.
Yeah.
So they could have used something like that because I I don't know if they had that, this whole going back to ancient Japan in the comics.
It was weird. I don't
It
even
was
know
just
where
so
the idea
weird.
came from.
See, that's how vague and abstract.
Miles, got anything to argue why your idea is better than theirs?
Well, the comic books and the TV series, the animated series, those were two different animals. The comic books, super dark. So I can see where they're going with the first movie. But the TV show was like happy, upbeat, everyone's joking all the time. And that's where the second movie went. But then the third movie didn't know what it was trying to be. So I feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Second movie, the way that worked, the dynamics, the tone, they should have carried that over into the third. That was it for me.
Okay, I've made my choice. Do you guys want to argue anything else to bring your point? Okay, even though he didn't see it, I am gonna pick.
I was going to say, I could add one more thing. I haven't
That
seen
makes
it.
no sense.
Why not?
Oh my goodness! I was gonna give it to
This
Myles.
this is a uproar.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. You said the problem with the third one was that they tried to be too serious. They had tried to do corny jokes in the third one. Do you remember? What was he like? Elvis in Hawaii, and Splinter's got that stupid lampshade over his head. What does that even mean? They
What, the
really
third one?
tried to push the corny jokes. Help! I'm a turtle. I've fallen. I can't get up. They really pushed the corny jokes in this one. So only because I feel like they didn't try to go back to serious. They tried to be more corny. They tried to be more kid friendly.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Is the movie tried to take the best of both and put it into one, and it failed completely. Like,
But you didn't say
slapstick
that.
humor-
You said that they tried to be too serious.
Uh-oh.
Well, no, the first.
No,
one,
no. What
the
I'm
first
saying
one
is
said
the first movie was serious, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a flop, but it
Yeah.
introduced the characters. The second
So-
movie,
So you
everybody
fixed.
was on
So
board.
what was your way to fix it then?
You already made your decision. It doesn't matter what I say. So
All
the
right.
man who didn't see the movie. Gets
Yeah,
the
but he
point.
made a good point about the effects.
How would he know though if he never seen
He
it?
did see the effects.
I haven't seen the movie, but I have seen stills of the movie. So
So
I
it's
guess
not
maybe in my mind, I remember seeing renderings of how, like, maybe someone could clarify.
Sorry,
this
he
for me.
made a better
Splinter-
argument.
Splinter, wasn't he also not looking quite like himself?
Yeah, he looked
Like,
awful.
He was changed so drastically that he looked rodent-like. But
There's
it
still
was
one more
just
round,
too-
Miles. There's still one more round.
That's all right. Pick something I haven't seen. That way I'll win.
Shut up!
Aliens
Damn it.
3. I don't remember that one.
All right, so we got Iron Man 3, Spider-Man 3, Terminator 3, Alien 3, and Jurassic Park 3.
Okay, well, I'll take an easy one. Iron Man 3.
Okay. And I know you guys expressed issues, or Miles has expressed issues with this. So
might
pick the
be-
one thing that's going to fix it.
Okay, be true to the comics and have Mandarin be the true badass. That whole thing. Sorry. Well,
No, that's
yeah,
all right. That was
that's-
the obvious
that
pick
was the
for
obvious.
sure.
That is the
I'm
obvious
sorry.
pick.
I'm kind of going with that, but
But
that's
it's a
basically what it
good,
is.
but there's a reason why you're picking it. He wants to win,
Yeah.
obviously.
Ben Kingsley to be like the badass, and then all of a sudden be like the dimwit at the end. That was a waste of talent right
Disappointing.
there. Completely disappointing. And from the trailers, it looked so good, and because we're just living off the Avengers and all this other stuff, it made so much money at the box office. Everyone said they loved it, but then you look back on it, Iron Man 3 was pretty much one of the worst MCU movies out there, just because of the Mandarin being so fucked up.
All right, so you would change the Mandarin, make him the real Mandarin. What would you change, Miles?
Well, that would have been my first pick, but my second pick would be the Mandarin's powers. So the actual Mandarin in the movie, he had heat breath and he could hot touch people or whatever the hell they were trying to get across there. What I would have done is actually give him the real powers. He had the power of the rings.
Mm-hmm.
Every ring symbolized like a different power. So I think there was lightning. There was it was more mystic, I guess.
So it's not the same rings as Thanos' rings, right?
No, these
Okay.
are different rings. They're more earthbound, earth legend,
Okay.
earth mystic, if you will. But maybe that's why they didn't touch on it because
Yeah,
they
it's
didn't
the
want to open
magic
that
thing.
mystic
Yeah,
door
yeah,
yet.
I agree.
But if I had to change anything, maybe I'd give him the real powers because those powers didn't really make sense.
Now, yours is different from his because you're saying he's getting the powers. Not
yeah,
just
we'll
because.
keep Killian as being the actual bad guy. Like
Okay,
the
but you
flip,
just okay, but
But we'll give him some real powers.
what Killian powers or Mandarin?
No, Killian. Well, I would prefer it to be that.
Mandarin.
It's so hard to even talk about it because the Mandarin isn't the Mandarin. Spoiler alert. Killian, we're gonna give Killian the real powers.
Okay. All right, so you just want the Mandarin's rings to be used.
I want the Mandarin's rings.
Okay, so show the Mandarin's ring. Yeah, okay.
There's a backstory to that.
So, Boo, what's the one thing you would do to fix Iron Man 3?
I mean, the more obvious ones have been chosen, right? What would I change about Iron Man 3? You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb because I realize that you guys have already chosen the obvious ones, the Mandarin, and in your case, the Mandarin's abilities weren't fully shown, I guess. What was I going to say? I kind of feel like if Mandarin was kept as is, then I feel like they should have taken the Inhumans out, if I'm going to call them that, because that's almost what they were doing with...
You mean the extremists?
Extremists, sorry, whatever they're going to call them, but I mean, it just those and random humans who were manipulated genetically.
They were injected with an extremist, and that's what turned them like that.
So I feel like if they took those characters out and they would have left the Mandarin as like the shock factor in the end, it might not have been as rough, because those characters kind of felt like they were nothing more than just filler. And filler for me is just one of those things where if you're going to show it to me, do it right, and all it was just a bunch of human beings that would explode on occasion. That, to me, at this point, that wasn't enough to get me excited. And, more so for the fact that I felt Mandarin deserved a better army than a bunch of random exploding people. But, if I had to keep Mandarin, because I can't touch that, I'm going to say I would remove that element.
Take out the extremist part of the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is yours better, Zub?
Well, it's also the weak... Sorry, not the weak part, but basically the obvious reason is the Mandarin. It's just such a bad... It's such a bad taste in everyone's mouth when they're watching the movie that they wanted to see Iron Man, they wanted to see the Mandarin, which apparently he's supposed to be like the Joker to Iron Man's Batman. Mm-hmm. And it was such a letdown. And there was actually articles recently that the director and the writers apologized for Iron Man 3 just based on that pure fact of them screwing up there's blaming studio.
So why is that better than having the rings in or taking out extremists?
Well, that's basically the key plot line, is that if you want to have Iron Man truly challenged outside the Avengers, outside of any things that the Avengers can handle, one of his true nemesis, you need to have the true villain.
Alright, you got something to say against that, Myles?
Well, the Mandarin twist did suck, but what sucked for me is the story behind how they're getting their powers and how it all tied together with AIM, and it just didn't make any sense with me. And I agree with the extremists. I think we could have got rid of that completely and still have.
So you're saying I should get the point to Boo then?
That's not what I'm saying.
So why is yours better?
What I'm saying is, if you would have given the Mandarin the actual rings, his actual powers, he wouldn't have needed these extremists. So yeah, it would have tied directly with Boo. You would have got, like you said, you would have got the Joker to his Batman, or however you worded it, but that's exactly it. Iron Man's definitive bad guy was the Mandarin, but it wasn't the Mandarin that we got. We didn't have this fire breath Mandarin in the comics. We had the rings, and there's stories behind the rings. We could have got some more. We could have got some really cool special effects, really cool battle scenes, but they took it away, and they gave us fire breath. So
made some good points there. And Boo, why is taking out Extremis better than that?
Again, I know you guys have two very valid points, one of which I wasn't aware of, were the rings. In my opinion, I can deal with the fact that the Mandarin, in some ways, maybe because I was not familiar with the origins of Mandarin himself, being one of the ultimate villains for Mr. Stark.
Mr. Stank.
Mr. Stank.
Spoiler alert.
So clearly it's one of those moments where it's like, okay, do you concentrate more so on the villain at hand or the villain misdirection at hand? Or I guess in my case would have to be that misdirection. I don't mind what they had done. I guess if I was a bigger follower, it might have been more so. But I do love the fact that they did give me a twist. What I didn't like was that it suddenly gave me all of these extra characters in between that had absolutely no meaning whatsoever throughout the plot, the progression of the story. When I really think on those fight moments, or when Iron Man is going up against some of these extremists, I get that they're a handful. I really do. But suddenly he calls on all of his suits, and they're suddenly no longer that much of a threat. So again, were they needed? Probably not. Now, on the other hand, yes, the Mandarin at its core was certainly something they had to have established properly. But they might have done so if they hadn't have added so much filler. So I kind of feel like if they took out the extremists, it would have negated the need of a proper rewrite of the Mandarin. But only for the sake of knowing that they tried something different right now. I get they didn't follow to the core elements, the original story, but they did something different. I will give them credit for that. So I don't know if that was necessary.
You have something to say?
I have one point against what you're saying. The only good thing that came from having these extremists, whatever, is Tony, throughout the majority of the movie, didn't even have his suit. I don't know if anybody noticed that.
I noticed.
Yeah.
He had to fight using his wits,
Yeah.
and now you're starting to see he's using like little chemical bombs, or he's like
Yeah.
using reflections of things or whatever. So when he had these extremists attacking him that weren't the main bad guy, he could take care of them with his brain.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool to see, I guess.
Yes.
We saw a different
like
side
that.
of Tony.
Yeah.
So
I felt it went back to like almost the first one, where it was a story about Tony Stark as
Tony
opposed
in a
about
cave.
Iron Man.
give Tony some time and give him some tools, and he'll figure it out. And
Well,
that's kind of what
He's
I
having
did in
that
the
anxiety attack, and the kid says, "You're a mechanic, right? Just
Yeah.
build something." And he's like, "Thanks, kid." And
Yeah,
then all of a
and
sudden
then
he
he brings
just
it back, and then he starts building again. And
So you're saying the extremists had an effect in that, and that they kind of added to
it
that.
brought us
that-
back to the Tony that we saw Iron Man 1.
all right.
The mechanic. Okay.
Anyone else got any final statements? All right. You nailed. I'm giving it to Myles on that one.
Yeah.
I was choosing between these two, but honestly, the last thing you said kind of hit it home with me. So you kind of like knocked his out of the park, and I was kind of arguing about just because you provided a better argument, I chose yours over his.
Damn you!
Kudos.
So, and also I wanted to do this so we could do one more round to figure out who
Oh,
the
a
winner
pity
is.
point.
Yeah.
A backhanded
No, you
pity
earned that
point.
one. You earned that one, honestly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just couldn't give it to me,
Fix it.
eh? You couldn't let me sleep.
No, you earned it.
Okay.
Come on now. Except I'm not gonna let you guys choose. I'm gonna give you one of these. So it's either gonna be Spider-Man 3, Terminator 3, Alien 3, or Jurassic Park 3. You guys got a preference?
Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3.
What do you say, Boo?
What were the choices again?
Too late. We're going Spider-Man 3.
We promised nothing.
All right. Where's the Die 20 of Destiny?
Oh, right here. Right here.
Let's see who goes first on this one.
There goes my 5.
Probably edit that part out later.
Your mouth's blowing it.
Nobody can see at home, by the way.
The dice I'm talking about.
Okay.
Jeez.
Well, we gotta nip that in the bud right away.
That'll be the
What was your
outtakes.
number?
Ooh.
Yeah, 18, eh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So you want to go first or last, Zub?
Ooh. I'll go first.
Okay, how would you
walk
fix
away.
Spider-Man 3?
All right. Well, Spider-Man 3 unfortunately fall in the same trap as I would say every other superhero, but superhero genre before it, the life cycle, which was the Batman, original Tim Burton, Schumacher, where they just kept on adding villains upon villains. Spider-Man had, was it? 3
It had
villains?
Sandman, Green Goblin, and Venom.
Yes, all in one. And this is so tempting. I want to go into the other choices of villains, but anyways, too many villains is my point.
So you would take...
I'm not going to steal another person's point, but basically, it's too many villains, oversaturation, and like the Peter Parker Venom thing we stayed true to the comics, or at least the TV show episode that I seen of Venom. So that's what sparked my memory, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I'm looking forward to this." But then they had the battle, and then they had the culmination of the Green Goblin, and then he turned out to help out Peter Parker at the end. But still, it wasn't very well written. And they also added too many villains in there.
So you would change that there's too many villains.
Yeah, exactly.
So you take out a villain then.
Oversaturation.
Okay.
I don't think maybe Sandman would be in there, and they need to focus on one core villain.
Okay, so take out a villain. All right, Myles.
I would give Venom some more backstory and some character development. I think that's what was missing. The symbiote suit, honestly, I don't even remember how he got the suit, how Peter got it. He fell or something, and then all of a sudden he had a suit. I don't remember how. Do you guys remember?
Well, wasn't there a backstory from the second one? Where
There was
the
some- There was some kind of...
The meteor came from the sky.
Yeah,
Right.
Kind of landed in his
Kind of
backyard.
conveniently landed close to Parker while he was there with Mary Jane.
Yeah, with his
And
bike.
then it got attached to him. And then the way he lost the suit was very much the way it was in the comic, where he used the bell to get rid of it, and then it fell on Eddie Brock when they was in the church.
Right. Yeah, that was exactly how the comics happened, period. Like, verbatim.
That was like one of the few good parts of the movie.
Yeah. So for me, because it was one of the few parts, I'd like to expand on that, and I'd like to give Venom some more backstory. I feel like him wanting to kill Peter Parker.
More Venom is your choice.
More Venom, yeah, more character development for Venom.
All right,
Stay
Boo.
there.
Oh, that kind of comes close to what I would have chosen, to generalize it. But I'm gonna go as far as to say I would recast the actor at least for Venom. I'm sorry to say, I'm not gonna say that Venom was so much a character I didn't enjoy seeing on screen, but at the same time, it wasn't the Venom I had seen in my mind. I'm thinking of Eddie Brock, this jock of a character who tends to pick on Peter, someone who clearly we can easily define as a bully, and someone more so than ever as an alpha male. I think just keeping his character plainly said as Eddie Brock. But anyway, yeah, for me, that had to be the casting.
Recast.
Recasting.
Okay, so why is your idea better than their ideas?
Okay, well, yeah, we're all pretty close to each other in it.
Yeah, but
touching on the same thing, but I'll go based on my argument. The oversaturation, I'll bring up another point. The reason why was that they also brought in secondary characters that could have been expanded on. We saw those characters in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movies, but like Gwen Stacy, for example, very brief. She was a damsel in distress. That was it. I was
another
thinking,
extra character that doesn't need there.
Right, but if they're going through that whole hierarchy of trilogy movies where they have all these extra characters, like a Batgirl to Spider-Man, that would be the cat, whatever her alter ego was, Gwen Stacy.
Gwen Stacy does not become Black Cat, if that's what you're thinking. That's Felicia Hardy.
She becomes Spider-Gwen.
Yeah,
Well,
she does become Spider-Man.
Very later.
Oh, okay.
Very
Well,
probably even another
I saw an anime
dimension of
series.
some kind.
Yeah,
See,
it is.
I'm not a comic book follower per se, but I saw in the cartoon that came in the 90s that Gwen was actually the Black Cat because apparently her father, again, was not from the comic books, but apparently that...
the cartoon series, it was Felicia Hardy. I will confirm
Okay,
that.
then I take back that thing. But anyway, they should have still had Gwen Stacy as some sort of secondary hero. Maybe just have some sort of secondary hero to counteract that extra villain. But they also shouldn't have cast. Well, actually, he wasn't a bad cast. Was the guy that played Santa? I forget his name off the top of my head.
I know him from Wings.
Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah, that's his name. I actually like that
Yeah, I
actor.
know. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, he's decent. But his whole story was like hit and miss, and then he was gone for a while, and he came back in towards the end, and that was basically it.
Right about the too many villains, that's for
He
sure.
was totally distracting from the main, which leads into these guys' points about Venom. Is that Venom should have been the main character, main antagonist in this, and have a lot better fight scenes, and just towards the end.
So what you're saying is you want to take out antagonists and replace them with protagonists. You want Gwen Stacy to be a superhero too.
Well, I was saying if they wanted to keep that, because again, that's what happened in the Batman series, that they had secondary heroes, like they had Robin plus Batgirl to counteract those two other ones, so it'd be almost like a mini, like Avengers before the Avengers happened, right?
Isn't that working against what you're kind of saying, though? You're saying it's oversaturated with too many characters, and then you're saying that you're kind of adding now to characters that we don't quite need just yet, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying that Gwen Stacy's needed. I'm just saying, Spider-Gwen, as we were saying it, right? I felt like
Right.
that's of a different topic, but
Yeah, see, like, what they failed in, that's the reason of the movie, is that they failed to have those extra protagonists against those antagonists to counteract that. Because, yeah, it's oversaturation, but in order to counteract that, to have the protagonist. But, yeah, that's kind of a side thing if I wanted to fix that part of the problem. If they still they still wanted to have those three bad guys, they still needed to have those antagonists there as well. But yeah, my main argument is that Sandman didn't need to be there, and basically took too much away from Venom.
Okay. Why is yours better?
Well, Boo kind of followed where I was going with that. If you take out antagonists, replace them with protagonists, you still have too much on screen, and you take away from character development from people that need it, like Venom.
Yeah.
and I will agree with you that Topher Grace was too small.
Both
But
physically
that
and-
didn't lead away from Venom, because for me, Venom is Venom when he's got the suit on and when he's menacing and killing people and he's just crazy and hates Spider-Man. But that's what was missing for me. Is okay, Spider-Man got him fired, and now he wants to kill him. Like that.
He
was-
also thinks
it
he's
was
stealing
so
his
thin.
girlfriend because he
Yeah, and
kisses
he also thinks
Gwen Stacy.
These are
Right.
so, like, the lines that he's drawing are so thin from, like, why he wants to kill somebody, that to me, we need more reason for him to hate Spider-Man. Like in the comics, he despised him. And this, he despised him for very small,
He knows him for like a
petty
week
reasons.
or 2 weeks.
Yeah, he sees him, hey, what's going on? Oh shit, I'm fired because I'm a douche, and now I'm gonna kill you. And so that was very thin for me. So if we had more development on why he wanted to kill Spider-Man in the first place, I think it would have been more interesting to watch that final battle scene. Even though there was a bunch of bad guys, I don't care. I want Venom. Why do you hate Spider-Man so much? Because you got fired? Because you're an idiot? No, we need more.
So why
Okay,
is
well, that
recasting Topher better?
Well, that kind of strengthens my ideas, because if you were to cast him appropriately, it could have been maybe Toby.
Topher Grace
Topher
is...
Grace, sorry. Anyway,
Not Tobey Maguire.
Toby. Where did
Tobey Maguire
Tobey
is
Maguire.
Peter
Yeah, I'm
Parker.
thinking wrong guy.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and I just kind of felt like the way he gave me his portrayal of Eddie was not strong enough for me to feel convinced as he was Eddie. And you kind of, I think you had it as right set of words, was he was too small. It's not really just in size too. I mean, I think of Eddie as very much a big, hulking, athlete, a football player, if I'm not mistaken, right? As he was written in originally. So suddenly we get the opposite right away. And on top of that, we have someone who's directly, in the same line of work as Peter. So suddenly he's competition. Okay, I get that. They're head to head with each other now. And that was the established relationship between these characters. So I kind of feel like you added it for me, though. It was that you want to see character development. Yes. Do I want to see nothing but Venom? Probably not. And I think that's probably part of the reason why I may not agree with you in that I don't want to desaturate the movie. There might be too much going on. That I can admit, but not enough to say that I'm not tired of seeing a little bit of Sandman here and there. Sandman kind of threw in that little extra something different while I wasn't seeing Venom on screen. And then, Green Goblin version 2, whichever way you want to call them. These are all characters that had their own level of development, which I can or cannot agree with is fine, but I felt like if they would have casted Venom properly, we wouldn't have this heap of a mess in the first place. I could have accepted Venom a hell of a lot better. It might have been maybe just a darker version of him, if it just happened to be that level of actor who was big, hulking, and very much alpha male, I think is maybe the best way to describe him. And I don't know if I can think of one off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can think of plenty.
All right, so you got a counter?
I got one last
Okay.
point.
Okay.
So you're saying that there's too many antagonists. I understand why they did it. If they didn't have Sandman in the movie, who was he going to fight with the Venom suit besides Green Goblin? And they already fought right at the beginning of the movie. Like, that's how they start the movie. Green Goblin's fighting Peter Parker. Peter Parker's trying to keep a wedding ring and everything and all that crap. But if they didn't have that secondary character to fight, then you'd have no reason to have Spider-Man with the suit in the first place. And then that would take away from Venom being in the movie. So if you... basically, if you reverse engineer what you're saying, you wouldn't even have a movie at that point. Because now you have nobody for Venom to fight. You'd never see Spider-Man with the suit. And it just wouldn't make sense. And your point, so Topher Grace isn't as big as the Eddie Brock from the comics, but Hugh Jackman, is he as small as Wolverine in the comics? Right? So we accepted that fact.
He became big enough to fill the role later as Wolverine. I mean,
we have a 5'3" character, and then we have a 6'2" human
I see what you
portraying him. That's what I'm getting at. Or you
Okay.
can even we can talk about Daredevil. They had Kingpin. They had Clark Duncan, who's clearly not the same race as the Kingpin that we had in the comics, but who cares?
He was still around.
Okay, it was a big menacing character, but what I'm getting at is it didn't take away from the fact that it didn't take away from Venom as a whole. It took away from the visual aspect from what we've seen in the comics, and that's not enough for me to hate the movie.
Okay. But I
That's
wasn't
what I'm
talking about the size of the actor either. I was just talking about his take as Venom might be. As Eddie Brock particularly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because Eddie underneath Venom is very much more the Venom that I'm familiar with than any other Venom I can think of in the comic series. Venom as a symbiote, I get that. But I'm not talking about the symbiote. The symbiote is a different, level of Venom that I don't think we can touch just yet there. I feel like this particular perception of Eddie Brock, more so the amount of FaceTime that he needed just to be able to make sure that we were all aware, yes, we know he's Venom. But he didn't care about that. And that was part of maybe what gritted on me the most. So if they would have actually changed him, I might have actually accepted Spider-Man 3 a hell of a lot easier.
All right, you want one more thing to say?
Okay. Yes, I will.
I feel like they said stuff, so.
Oh, I totally respect the points. To Myles' point, though, let me just spin it this way. Pardon the pun. See?
Spin a web.
Spin the web.
Anytime.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Catches thieves just like flies. Look out. Here comes the Spider-Man.
Gotcha. All right. So, okay, I understand your point about Sam. They need an extra antagonist in there to explain the whole, like, Spider-Man using the black suit to take him out. So, my point was that it's still watered down with all the extra stuff that happened with Sandman later on in the movie. But to make it more interesting and make it expand on Venom's storyline and all that, is to revisit Spider-Man 2, the end, where briefly introduction of J. Jonah Jameson's son as the astronaut, the whole plotline of going into space and then the symbiotes, and introduce and bring back Carnage. Now, I'm not a comic book fan again.
I thought you didn't want to oversaturate this thing.
No, okay. Instead of, no.
So now we have Gwen Stacy and Carnage. Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, no, but make it out of
Spider-Gwen, Carnage.
No, Venom and Carnage.
Let's throw the Scarlet Spider while we're there, too.
Well, hey, if you want to go out on a trilogy, if this is like Tobey Maguire's last movie and all that stuff, make it into like what the fans really wanted to see is Venom and Carnage. That's basically what people wanted to see.
It's true.
But now you're saying you have a different debate at hand here. You're trying to say that you needed a different story for this to work instead of it being less saturated. I don't know which one is your argument here. Sorry.
He's got you there.
Sorry, but you keep saying that.
All right.
I want to see Carnage
I think we're good on time there. I'm going to make my decision.
Because you got me confused a bit there. Sorry.
Wow, that was a good argument, guys. Holy crap.
You guys made some good comments, though. Holy crap.
Boo, you made a lot of good points. Myles made a good point. Sorry, Zub, you're out on this one.
Well, but we all agree though it was oversaturated.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
It totally was.
I was gonna pick your point until you picked it.
Right.
But
I'll
once
be
you
honest.
picked it allowed me to see the movie in a
You
different
all
light.
picked very good points.
And I
The
shot
only
myself
reason
with that.
you kind of shot yourself in the foot with some of the stuff you were saying, so that's
it's
why
all
I
good.
kind of
It's all
took you
good.
out of the equation.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I left it down to these two because they really focused my main problem with the movie, which was Venom.
Yep.
Now, Boo is saying if he was cast differently, they would have been better. I agree. I would have liked to see him cast differently. Myles saying it doesn't matter if he's cast a certain way or not. They didn't spend enough time with the character. You guys both made very excellent points. In fact, I know which way I'm leaning, but it's really tough. I don't really want to say one or the other, but I actually am going to give it to Myles on this one.
Whoa, I actually thought you were going to give it to Boo.
No, because you're absolutely right. I mean, they could have made Topher Grace work. It wasn't the fact that it was Topher Grace. Topher Grace could have worked eventually. You made a point about Hugh Jackman. You're saying, look at Hugh Jackman. He pulled it off. Topher Grace is a good actor. He could have done it, but I feel like it wasn't his fault. It was too much going on in the movie, like Zubert said, but they really needed to develop Venom over Sandman or Goblin because that's what everyone was going to see at the movie. That's why I gave it to you.
I get that part completely. You actually had me at the simple fact that I hate to say generalization of it, but it really is just simply said, Venom as an entity in the Marvel Universe has to be properly portrayed, and if you don't do that pristinely, precise, it's going to demolish the entire aspect of what the character is. I think that's why, for me, maybe on a personal note, Tofi. I was gonna
Topher Grace.
Mr. Tofu. I'll call him that.
You two are so close. You got pet names for each other. So you call him Tofi. We get it. We have to call him Topher or Mr. Grace.
He makes me call him Mr. Grace.
But I think for me, and I think it's also due to the fact that when we see him as an actor in his career, what do we first think of him as?
Dumbass!
Yeah, that's
Foreman.
So, and I think because of that, it lends to the effect of what I simply put was the recasting of the character. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And then it's like what you had said, Jpar. It had more to do with the way they written the character. It had less to do with the actor behind the character. It could have turned out completely differently. So, yeah, you're right.
All right, so that is Fix That Movie. I hope you all enjoyed our review as well of the Netflix Marvel shows. This is Jpar signing out.
Myles leaving the building.
Da Boo going bye-bye.
See ya. Zuby.
And remember, if you disagree with anything you hear on the show, we promise nothing. Good night.
Boy.